So thank you everybody for taking time out of your busy day to come and learn a little bit about our Bio 800 technology, microbial technology by Holganix, how it works in the field, what it does to really improve the functionality of your soil and ultimately the performance of your fields and how much you can get on a bushel per acre at a reduced fertilizer rate. And so we're going to be talking to Kaleb Dinwiddie out at Silver Oak Farms and Kaleb's agronomist Brett, and we're going to learn about what they're seeing out in the field in the Mid-South, how they're using Holganix in their fields, and kind of what results they're seeing as they're measuring the results. So with that, we'll get started. So this is Kaleb here and Brett Huss. They're the two other attendees that I had mentioned, the webinar panelists. I'm Barrett Urshik. I'm the founder and CEO of Holganix. So thanks, Kaleb and Brett, for being on the webinar here to help educate people on what they can do to improve soil health. So as we kind of start this presentation, I just want you to just think for a second in your head, like, to start the journey to rebuild your soil. Imagine we could significantly improve the functionality of your soil. We can make it more productive so that you could get a lot more mileage out of the fertilizer you're putting down. You'd have better yields, better water retention, better carbon sequestration, better organic matter. If we could start to do that in your soil, when would be the best time to start that? Well, obviously, we like to pose that question because it's obvious the time to start is now. And it's a great time to consider Holganix technology and how it can help you. So as you ponder that question, what if 3 years from now your farm was transformed and from a soil perspective and a performance perspective, it wasn't like a farm that you recall. And that's what we want to do. We want to help be a partner with our farmers on a journey on soil health to improve soil health. We see the soil as the engine to the farm, and if we can get the soil performing at an optimal level by using the right microbial consortiums, the biology, by putting life back into the soil, that will do a lot to help improve the overall performance of your fields and at the end of the day, your bottom line. We need to help farmers be sustainable. And when I say sustainable, obviously, if we could be more environmentally sustainable, that's great. But economically sustainable, that's frankly more important these days. At least it's more urgent, I should say, because in the short term, with the prices the way they are, if we can't perform economically, it's going to be tough to be here in a couple of years. And we want to help farmers be more profitable, put more money in their pocket, get more performance out of their farms. And we're going to get into how we can do that. So as you think about this journey in improving your soil health, what if we could reduce inputs by the factor of 30% NPK, improve stand count, less insect pressures, less fungal and disease pressures, faster and easier planting, better stress management, drought resistance, water retention, increased root mass, which converts to a higher organic matter, reduced tillage, and higher yields. If we could do these things, I think you can see the benefit of what it could do for your operation. So as you think about Bio 800 technology by Holganix, there's top 5 reasons. We will see significantly improved emergence. You'll see an earlier emergence with much better rooting, and you can see that in that picture. One corn has been treated, one has not, and you can see the evidence in the root mass. We get healthier plants in general, better, thicker stalks, better brace roots, much better root developments, healthier soil, and we can see that. You can feel it, you can measure it. The soil gets better as you add life back to the soil. Root mass is typically 4 to 10 times more root mass, weighable dry root mass, and you can see in the control versus the treated there how much more root mass we have, and that's just going to help everything on that plant. And at the end of the day, better yields. And if we can do all those things, hopefully we can put money back in your pocket as an operator. So Bio 800 technology, there's 2 formulations. They're both use a large consortium of microbes to drive healthy soil, but we do it in 2 different formulations. One is designed to go down in springtime. So we try to get that down as close to planting as practical. So 2 weeks pre or post planting or right at planting, all of those, that time frame will work. Half a gallon per acre of concentrated material to go down, with your whatever liquid application you're making anyway. So we can do it, in furrow or as a broadcast, both work equally well with 10 to 15 gallons of water or liquid fertilizer delivery. That's on a broadcast. In furrow, it's 5 gallons. We can tank mix with just about anything except for fungicide. So we can put some of our pre and post emergent herbicide, any of your starter fertilizers, all of that works really well. And that formulation is designed to really drive rooting, to drive fertilizer efficiency, to drive early plant development. So we get that plant out of the ground fast and get a head start on it and maximize fertilizer that you're putting down. And then we have our fall application, which is, again, that same Bio 800 technology, but we formulate it with more degraders. So it's really designed to go down on the stubble, the stover, go down and break that residue down, turn it back into humus and organic matter, releasing it into the soil. There's also a lot of nutrients tied up in that stover and stubble, and it makes the planter go through so much better in the spring, helping operators and growers get closer to no-till or minimum till, depending on their operations. Both we call it Bio 800 technology because it's over 800 species of bacteria, fungi, amoeba, and protozoa. So all these microbes are working together in a system approach to fundamentally drive soil health. And there's a lot of microbial technologies on the market today. I'm sure a lot of you have seen them. And they may do a specific job very well. But if you look at the other microbials and you just sit there and ask, what is the active ingredients? How many species of microbes do they have? Typically, you're going to see there are going to be 6 species of spore-forming bacillus. Maybe there'll be a dozen. Maybe there'll be a single species. They're not going to be anything close to 800 species. And they typically don't include fungi and protozoa and amoeba. They're just spore-forming bacillus. That doesn't mean they're bad. They might do a very specific job well, but they're not going to fundamentally change the functionality of your soil the way Bio 800 can. And we see really ourselves not as a microbial company, but we see ourselves as a soil health company. And we happen to use consortiums of microbes to drive soil health. But we want to be your partner in soil health and just happen to use a microbe to help make that happen.
Hey Barrett.
Yeah.
The fall product here, there's a lot of double crop acres in our part of the world, so it really benefits the wheat, getting the stalks broke down here in the fall to get those nutrients back available to the fresh wheat crop, and it also makes for much easier planting in the fall.
Yeah, so why don't you give us a specific example, Kaleb, on how you're using it on double crop? Like, tell us, what you planted, when you used the breakdown, how it helped you. Like, give us a specific story.
Yeah.
On a specific field.
If you're harvesting corn, we like to be behind the combine as quick as possible, and then the 1st of October we'll be planting wheat. A lot of us, a lot of no-till acres, but regardless, even in a month, even in really dry weather, we saw a big reduction, a big effect on the stalks. It was really, the microbes really were chewing up our stalks and made it much easier to plant no-till wheat into. We had to take our drill out of the ground because it was just softer, the ground softer. So then we go through that. The wheat gets the benefit of the microbes. Then after we harvest the wheat, we're planting double crop beans. We put down the breakdown again, Bio 800 breakdown, and that gets the stubble broke down again and gets it into the bean plant, and it makes for an easier harvest because sometimes wheat beans are hard to harvest, especially have a lot of damp days. But with that trash, the trash isn't gone, but it just makes it much easier to deal with.
Yeah, so the trash doesn't disappear, but it becomes so brittle that it doesn't slow the process down. Is that a good way to describe it?
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Kaleb. And so as we think about there's other breakdown microbial excavator and there's other ones out there. If you look at our breakdown product versus any other microbial breakdown product, it works fundamentally different in that if you look at the labels on these other microbial breakdowns, they will all be spore-forming bacillus. And if you look at and you understand the science behind what a bacteria can do, they don't actually consume stover or stubble. They don't convert it into organic matter. What they do is they punch holes in it, microscopic holes. And if you have enough holes, you could suppose that stubble could break down a little easier. But what we do that's fundamentally different is we use degrading fungi in addition to the bacteria. So the fungi actually consume the stover and the stubble and the trash from the inside of the plant out, and you can actually see it. And we have some slides that are coming up in a bit. But I want everybody to understand that our breakdown is fundamentally different in how it works than other microbial breakdowns, and the results are significantly better as well. By the way, we do have a chat bar in there. If you all have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat bar, and we'll answer them as we can. And we're going to get into some specific experience from Kaleb and Brett. We just heard a little bit. We're going to hear some more. Before we do, just cover some basics. You know, when thinking about fertilizer and using our Bio 800 technology, again, we want to help you make more money out of your operation. And one of the ways to do that is to reduce your fertilizer rates. It also makes the microbes work better. So if you have frankly, if you're over fertilizing at some level, which most of us have been over the years, it's just how we've been conditioned in commercial farming, the microbes will not work as well as if we can be a little leaner on the fertilizer. Basically, over fertilizing makes lazy microbes. Lazy microbes don't feed the plant and do what they're supposed to do. So we like to, look at removal rates and think about the efficiency of the operation and how close to removal rates we can be. We like to back down slowly, especially on nitrogen. And as we can then measure the results of the microbial activity in the soil, we can get more and more aggressive on those nitrogen reductions. But we got guys that start off at, a unit of nitrogen per bushel, 1.2 per bushel, and getting down to, 0.7, 0.6. Pretty commonly, we're seeing those kinds of numbers. It doesn't happen in year one, but it happens over time. So year one, maybe you look at a 10 to 20% reduction, depending where you're starting at, depending on what your soil is, and then get more aggressive from there. P and K, a lot of the soils we have decades of P and K tied up in the soils, but there's not the right microbes there to access those the P and K. In Holganix Bio 800, we do add those microbes, and we will unlock a lot of P and K that's tied up in the soil. Not to mention the P and K that's tied up in the debris, which we're going to help release as well. So we can be aggressive on P and K on reductions. Microbes will help you get more of the fertilizer to go to the crop, as opposed to getting tied up in the soil, volatilizing the atmosphere, washing away in our waterways. It's estimated only roughly half of the fertilizer we actually apply goes to the plant. If we have the microbes there to help make that happen, we can make a lot closer to 100% get to the plant. So Holganix is different. I keep telling you it's different. It's different than any other microbial. We have this broad consortium. Well, they're active living microbes, and they do take some care in storing. So what we do is it's a refrigerated long-term storage process. So we have refrigeration. Kaleb has refrigeration right out there in the Mid-South to help us distribute to customers in that area. We have refrigeration all over the country with inventory of refrigerated, concentrated product in totes. Now, keep in mind, it's not ice cream. So once it gets to you in a wrapped foil tote, and you have 8 weeks to use the product in totes. Keep it out of direct sunlight, put it in the barn. It doesn't matter if it's hot or cold outside. It just matters that we get the product going within about 8 weeks. If you put it in the jugs, then we get a little less time, so it's more like 4 weeks. Once you mix it into your spray rig, we want you to use it within 2 weeks and as soon as you can, simply because the product will start growing in those tanks and create some other issues. But as long as you use it within 2 weeks, there's zero issue with the product. Long-term storage, so if you were to keep product around for an entire season, it stays healthy and dormant below 44 degrees for years. But out of 44 degrees, it becomes active, and we want to use it as quickly as we can. But we have a couple of 8 weeks to do so. So order it when you want to use it. We'll get it to you before planting. Go ahead and get it down. Nobody ever has an issue. It's a really simple process. Some people look at this and say, "Well, that's kind of weird." What I'd like you to do is look at this and say, "Well, that's kind of cool." Not only is it cold, right? So it's cool, double entendre there, but it's actually tells you we have something different. We're actually going through the effort to keep our microbes alive and active, and as soon as they go into your field, they go to work. And that really makes us different. The other thing that I think that makes us different, and we're going to get into some of the things we're seeing in the field in the next slide or two, is that we actually go out and measure results. We try to get out on most of the fields that we're on. If people are giving us at least 500 acres within an area where we have agronomists supporting, which is most of the areas that are heavy farm operations, We go out in the field, we do soil health tours. We actually go out with tools that are high-tech tools to give us real-time results. We use a Chrysolabs probe that gives us real-time soil tests, gives us everything from organic matter, CEC, nutrient availability, pH, all of that. And then we do a microbiometer, which gives us, again, real-time evaluation on how many microbes you have in the soil at a general level. Like it tells us if the microbial populations are growing. Tells us our bacteria to fungi ratio in the fields. And that's really important. You know, ideal perfect soil has roughly a 50-50 fungi to bacteria ratio. Most of our commercially farmed fields are running at 90% or better bacteria dominant. And that's going to drive inefficiencies. So one of the reasons I keep talking about Holganix and the fungi and the protist is because we need to add the fungi back to the soil on a consistent basis if we want to get that soil in balance to get it working. Adding life back to soil is what Holganix is about, and that microbiometer proves that to our customers. And we give these results to our customers. And then we do a leaf tech, which is another tool that basically gives us a evaluation of how much nutrient is getting into the plant from the soil. And so we can see all these values go up, and then we can make better decisions, and we can help our growers improve their performance and save money and have confidence that what we're doing is working. So what do you want to look for when you were thinking about corn? And we're going to get some results on corn. You know, larger root mass, healthier plants. You can see it in the color, improved soil structure, and much better roots and a healthier stand count. So all of those things are going to be noticeable observations that you can have in the field. So now we're going to get into our panelists and hear some direct experience. Stop hearing me talk about all the benefits of Holganix, but going out to see what we're seeing in the field. So Kaleb and Brett, whichever one of you guys want to answer the question, how long have you guys been using Holganix out in the field, and what kind of results have you seen in fertilizer and yield?
Yeah, so we've been using the product for 4 years now, on every acre for 3, and fall and spring for the last 2, because breakdown product hasn't been out as long, but we're seeing improvement in yields. We can get to yield cheaper cost per bushel. This year was a really tough May. We had less replants than some. When we're cutting our seedling rates back, it just gives you more comfort to do that. More efficient plants, utilizing your soil.
And how about fertilizer? What are you seeing in fertilizer efficiency?
Yeah, so it's going up. So as we're cutting back and get the microbes working, we're getting our soil to compaction broke up, and we're tapping into the fertilizer that's just sitting there that's not available. You said earlier there's decades worth of fertilizer tied up, and I mean we don't even have to break a big part of that to utilize it, and it operates just kind of like the forest and all, because there's no commercial fertilizer in them, and the trees grow big, so it's just stepping back to a better way to do it.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So as we look at actually what we're seeing in the field, very specific examples here, we can see a control versus using a standard fertilizer versus adding the Holganix microbial to that corn plant. You can see the difference. Is this one of your pictures, Kaleb or Brett? You guys remember what exactly you were seeing here on this field?
Yep, Brett did this.
Yes, I dug these roots. These, I believe, came out of northern Missouri. You could even tell in the field when you were digging the plant that it was a lot less compaction in the Holganix side compared to the control, and that's going to show in your roots as well. You can see longer, more vigorous root system on the Holganix side versus the control, and that's kind of pretty consistent with the roots that we've been seeing everywhere.
Cool. Do you have any estimates on what this turned into from a yield perspective?
Yes. So maybe the next slide or two. There's pictures of the ears. We did an ear comparison with this one.
Yeah.
That came from same field as those roots did. We were showing a 5 bushel difference on this one, specifically just doing the kernel counts. That's shown right here. Yes, the next slide. Yes, this one right here, and you can see where we did the bushel estimates down at the bottom there. Got a 5 bushel difference on that farm specifically, but right down the road, the one underneath it, showing a lot bigger response to it in the kernel count. We see almost a 45 bushel difference in the field, just not even half a mile down the road.
Wow, that's pretty significant. I mean, 5 bushels, frankly, should pay for the product to put some money back in the grower's pocket. You know, if we can get anything close to 45, it's a home run. But you know, we see that from time to time. You shouldn't be using the product thinking 45 is the number, but we do see that, especially on some of your challenged ground. But if we can get 5 to 10, we're pretty happy, and we feel like we're winning, especially if we do that at a lower fertilizer rate. And then all along, Brett, we're improving the health of the soil, and we're measuring that.
Correct. Yes. On the same sheet that it's circled right up above it, so you see the organic matter and organic carbon. Those are two of the main different columns that we're looking at show difference with the Bio 800 product. It's also going to reflect in your bulk density. As I mentioned, when you're out there digging roots, you could actually physically tell when you're in the field while you're digging that the compaction's been released a little bit. And then that's showing up here in your bulk density. That's 0.02 of a point lower in the Holganix versus the control. And that's going to be your compaction releasing because of the microbes working in your ground.
Yeah. And think about, driving organic matter, improving organic matter. I mean, that's something that takes like a generation, it seems like, on some operations. And here we're seeing what's that number? 30%, I'm sorry, 0.3, right? Improvement in the organic matter, which is, something like 10% improvement in single application, a single year. Is that what we're seeing there, Brett?
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
And first year application.
Yes.
And Kaleb, you've seen some organic matter improvements on some of your fields that you've been using multiple years that have been pretty significant.
Yes, sir. It's going up as over time, and our soils need it. It's the cheapest thing we can do to add more bushel capacity to our farms, more production capacity.
And it's better water holding capacity. I mean, organic matter turns into water holding capacity as well as nutrient efficiency and everything else. So in those areas where you got challenges with consistent rain, best thing we can do is add organic matter. Kaleb, can you give us an example of like one of your worst fields that went from what to what? I mean, I remember some of your stories. I just don't remember the specifics.
Yeah. So I took on a field in 1997 that was 0.5. And by about 2018, we had finally gotten it up to about a 1.7. And that's probably more like 2019, 2020. And now we've added a point. So we're like at 2.7. So
yeah,
that's compacted down pretty good. And we've had some pretty adverse weather in the middle of this opportunity as well, in this window.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, that's a whole different operation, 0.5 compared to, having, 2 to 3%. I mean, you went from something that you should have never probably even bothered plowing and planting to something that's competitive.
Yeah. So it went from the bottom third of our farms to the top third.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what do we got here? Is this from you, Brett?
Yes, this is also one of ours. I believe these came out of Kentucky. This is going to be one of your more extreme examples. If we saw the 45 bushel increase with the kernel count on the last sheet, this is going to be one that was very close. I believe this one was 42 on the kernel count bushels. But you can just tell, just physically looking at them, Holganix side, much longer, more rounds on each ear compared to the control. Yeah, this is going to be one of the better examples on the ear.
And just to be clear, Brett, the control had standard fertilizer.
Yes, it did, absolutely.
Just didn't have the microbes added to it.
Correct.
And on the Holganix side, do you know if they backed off the fertilizer, or do they just add the Holganix on top?
They just added, I believe.
Okay.
And Central Kentucky, they got pounded really bad in May. And so I think the microbes helped them get through that spell. So we got pounded in West Tennessee, but they really got pounded. So
yeah,
we've seen a few big differences up there.
Yeah, the more stress you're going to have in a year, the better the microbes are going to give you a benefit, for sure. Anytime we have anything that's lacking from a conditions perspective or a fertility perspective or just general soil health perspective, that's where we see our biggest gains. And that's what you're seeing here. So let's talk about beans here, guys. So when we think about beans with Bio 800, we typically see, same story as corn, but larger root mass. We see improved nodulization, which helps the plant have a better capability to fix nitrogen. We see earlier pod formation, and we see better soil structure overall, which if you look at those two plants, we typically see a lot of our beans and some of our porous soils that just go lateral with their roots. When you start using the microbes with Bio 800, we see the roots go down through the hard pan, and we get a really decent taproot that goes much deeper into the soil. And we just see generally healthier stands, better color. We tend to see less insects, less disease, and all those things can be observed visually. So let's talk about what you guys are seeing out there. Do you guys recall the details of this control?
It's somewhere in Kentucky. I mean, in Missouri. Just another root dig that we did. We don't really remember all that.
Yeah. So I mean, you just take a look at the picture. I mean, we don't have to talk much about it.
Yeah.
Which plants would you prefer? Which ones are going to perform better? I mean, it's pretty obvious, and that's the kind of stuff we see with the Holganix Bio 800.
Yeah, it just gives you the
plant.
comfort of cutting your seedling rates.
Yes. Talk about that. Talk about cutting your seedling rates. Give us some numbers of what you've seen. You've gone from what to what, and how's that translated into improved yield, or however you want to think about it.
Yeah. So in beans and cotton, we're learning that some of our highest yields come from some of our thinner stands, as long as they're consistent. So it's when you don't have good planting conditions, it's hard to cut those seedling rates from 140,000 of beans to 100. But that's a big efficiency gain on the cost of your seed, your treatment, all that. Plus, there's an added yield, but you're worried that you don't get a stand. So we've gone from planting from 140 down to 105 and getting 90 up. So we're real happy with that on our early beans. Our fuller season beans, the double crop beans, we're planting about 125. And we're getting 100, we're still getting 90 up. So it just helps overall. It's better. And in the cotton, where those seed are so expensive, if you can go from 50,000 plants per acre, we're at 35. We feel like 30 is great, but your planting conditions have to be perfect. That's where we need to be with our cotton as well. And that's,
Yep.
That's a huge savings.
Oh, sure. Hey, man, put less seed in the ground, put some more money in the farmer's pocket, and then better yield at the end.
Yeah.
Can't ask for more than that. So let's see. I went the wrong direction. Let's look at these soybeans here. Obviously, we can see which ones were treated, which ones weren't. Do y'all remember? Oh, I'm sorry, cotton. Yeah. Do y'all remember what was going on here?
Yes. I believe these would have came out of Middle Tennessee. We're seeing good response in these. The roots, obviously, you can see there's better root system. We've been seeing a larger stem diameter on a lot of our cotton, along with boll retention. We've been doing some studies with boll retention because cotton plants will sometimes they get stressed, they'll drop some squares, and the more squares you can retain throughout the season is going to show up in your yield at the end of the year. So Holganix products being applied on cotton is showing a lot more boll retention, as well as stimulated roots, as we can see in the picture.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I was trying to get to the cotton pictures, but now I've screwed our whole webinar up. But thanks for telling us, Brett. We got some cotton pictures coming up where it shows everything you just said. But we'll get there. So here we got Denton, Tennessee. What's going on here?
Yes, these were some of the some early beans and late beans. Excuse me. These are double crop beans out of Denton, Tennessee. These, I believe, had breakdown applied to the wheat before they were planted. So you see some of the same results from breakdown as you do the Bio 800 when you're planting double crop beans into it. You got your stem diameter, you got your root mass built up, as you can see on the Holganix on the right side.
More nodes.
Yes. Another thing I was going to mention, there's more nodes on the Holganix side than the control side. I believe these Holganix had 3 more nodes compared to the control whenever we took the data on these.
Neat. And from a numbers perspective, like so, this comes out of our Christ Labs soil probe that we use is for real-time soil test. What kind of things are you seeing here, Brett? I think you did this.
Yes, it's kind of similar to the corn we were looking at. We got a lower bulk density on the Holganix side, so that's your compaction being released, along with your rise in organic matter and organic carbon. And in this situation specifically, we also see the CECs are up a little bit on the Holganix side, which is something that we've been seeing over time. Could possibly be another potential step that Holganix is helping bring up in farmer soils.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We improve that CEC. That's a much more productive soil than one with a lower CEC. Correct. So pretty cool stuff. How many do you have? How many samples you did this summer, Brett, when you went out with the probe and took some of these things?
Oh gosh, how many total?
Yeah, just to give people perspective on, like, we're not just cherry picking this. This is all over the place.
Oh, absolutely. I could not give you an exact number. It's been a lot of samples have been taken this summer, and we're seeing this result almost every single time.
Yeah, I can tell you that in 2023 we did 4,000 samples. 2024 it's significantly higher.
Yeah,
that's everywhere.
I would have to say we're real close, if not higher than that 4,000 mark for sure.
Yeah.
And
cool.
we're doing
we're seeing this.
So Barry, also we're doing a composite sample. You might explain that, Brett.
Oh yeah. So it's not just a single sample pulled out of one hole out of a large field. We do a composite. So we'll go into a section that's been Holganix applied, and we'll take so many samples that's pulled into a composite to give you the best average of the Holganix and the control, to give you a broader average of the whole field rather than just taking them in one spot.
Yeah, and so fundamentally, everybody's listening. I want you to understand, we're going out there at our cost and doing these real-time soil tests. We're giving you the results. You can do what you want with them, but one of the reasons we're doing it is because we want to prove to you that our product is doing what we say it's going to do. So we're not just selling you a product and saying, oh yeah, it's going to work better, and just call us the end of the year and tell us how it worked. But we want to be your partner in driving soil health on your farm. And one of the ways we do that is we come out and we do these real-time soil tests. We give you the results. We help you see what's happening, and then we help you make better decisions on how you can, use fertilizer more efficiently, what other cultural practices you can be doing differently because of what this data is showing you. And so think about how many other microbial companies are coming out and doing testing mid-season to prove to you that they're actually doing something. I don't know of any. We certainly are, and it's one of the things that makes us different. So what do we have here, guys? What'd you see on this operation?
So these were early beans. I believe these were out of Mississippi. Mississippi, they have a lot of real high percentage of clay soils, and these were in a really thick, mucky clay soil. I'm sure a lot of people have that problem in some of their soils. So we're really trying to see, how that response was going to look in that soil type. And you can see from the pictures here, the roots really got after it in this one. The stem diameter is visually larger on the Holganix side, longer taproot on the Holganix side. It almost looked like to me that in the control, the roots may have hit a compacted spot. They do have a lot of compaction issues down there. And in the Crystal Labs, we did see that it was a much lower bulk density in the Holganix side after it was applied with Holganix.
Neat. And you can see it right there in those roots, man. I mean, look at that taproot going down low,
Absolutely.
deep into the soil. We can see the soil also clumping to the roots. That's something called the rhizosheath, that when you have healthy microbial populations, they create a glue that helps the soil stick to the roots. When you don't have healthy microbial populations, the soil will just shake right off the roots easily. And you're seeing that. I mean, if you look at the control, not a lot of soil sticking to those roots. Look at the Holganix, we've got clumps of soil sticking to the roots. That is evidence that the microbes are doing their job. So again, we're just trying to show people that physically we are improving the functionality of the soil. The soil is the engine to your farm, and we want to get it really working as efficiently as possible, and using the right microbial consortium can do that. We even work on peanuts. Do you want either one of you guys? Were you on this operation? This is pretty spectacular.
Yes, I was actually down in Mississippi. The peanut farmer that he applied Holganix to these peanuts, and first year we've actually been on peanuts. It was my first time getting experience in a peanut field as well. I never had a whole lot of experience. Didn't really know, what was going to happen. Knew it would give them some benefit, just not what. And we're seeing, I mean, a very obvious difference with the Holganix, and the farmer himself, as I said, now that they started getting ready for harvest, that he's been noticing this pretty consistently throughout the field. Holganix supplied sections of his peanuts are producing a lot more peanuts, as you can see in the pictures.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
So we're actually going to carry them to yield. We're getting some scales. So the peanut harvesters, to my knowledge, don't have yield maps capabilities, but we're going to get down there and do some side by side and weigh the peanuts, and we'll have more information later. But Barry, it looks to me like if you're farming peanuts, we can move the needle for you.
oh, for sure. Look at that, man. That's unbelievable. That'll be cool when you figure out what the real math is on that. So here we got some corn. I'm sorry, some cotton, I should say.
It's cotton.
Yeah, what are we looking at here?
Yes, this is some of our cotton. I'm not 100% sure where this came from. I almost want to say it came from Arkansas. But yes, we have great responses in cotton. These plants were planted at the same time. They're side by side in the same field. The control side, you can see they're a little bit smaller stem diameter, nodes and whatnot. This early on in the cotton growing process, along with the roots that we continue to see greater root mass with the cotton. That doesn't fall off either. It's all looking really good.
Yeah, and then we get into some numbers here from the soil probe.
Yes, that came from the same cotton location. Yeah, same numbers we've been looking at: organic matter, organic carbon increasing, and then along with your bulk density, it's opening up that soil compaction that some people face.
Yeah, so again, whether we're talking corn, soy, cotton, or peanuts, we're going to come out and show you that Holganix is working on your operation, and that we're actually creating value. We're going to help you reduce your fertilizer, improve your yield, but fundamentally, we're going to help you drive soil health, which makes your entire operation more valuable. And we're going to help prove that to you. And again, that's different than any other microbial company that we know.
Blytheville, Arkansas, looking at some cotton. We picked up a hitchhiker on the way. There's our agronomist, Brett. Brett, wave! Anyways, our agronomist, Brett, here is going to explain some of the differences between these cotton plants down here in Arkansas.
So what we got right here, we pulled the bowls off and the flowers and the squares, and we got to look and see kind of some retention that's going on. And we're seeing a huge difference over here on the Holganix side. We got 30 bowls versus 16 of the control, came from the same field, planted at the same time, same practices. Another thing we noticed doing the root digs, we get a lot greater root mass, stem diameter on both of the Holganix plants compared to the control. It's a fairly obvious difference, which is a huge deal, especially with cotton from an early stage, and we're seeing great results here in Arkansas.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, Brett, seeing what you're doing there in the field.
Absolutely.
Anything else to add there?
Oh, no, I was just going to kind of go back to what I said earlier with the cotton. We're looking at the boll retention. That's a problem some farmers face when they're with cotton. Cotton gets stressed. They like to drop those bolls to continue growing. Holganix has taken some of that stress away from the plant, I guess you could say, and we're seeing a lot more boll retention pretty consistently throughout most fields that we're in with cotton. And that was just a visual of how that's working for us.
Yeah. And what are we seeing yield improvement wise? I know that not this specific field, we may not have those numbers, but what kind of numbers have you seen on cotton, Kaleb or Brett?
So we've seen 100 pounds on our farm, and better grades as well. So a higher price and more yield, and lower seeding costs. So it's a trifecta movement on it there. So it's really good. I also want to thank the two ladies in the picture, Anna Claire Griggs and Callie Whitwell, and they helped Brett all summer. So it wasn't just him doing all these digs.
Neat to see on cotton, man. Making more money. So let's talk now about our breakdown product specifically. We had Kaleb kind of talk a little bit about it in the beginning. You know, when you think about the fall formulation, we call it fall, but in the Mid-South, you could use it other times of year with double crop and such. We're going to, again, help build soil health. We're going to help cycle nutrients back into your soil. We're going to continue to boost the microbiome and the diversity from a microbiological level, really reduce the residue, and improve spring emergencies we heard Kaleb talk about. And here you can see it. This is a field, I think, is in Iowa, but it's the same story. It doesn't matter where we go. You can see just a couple weeks after application of Bio 800 breakdown, you can see the stubble. Both of these had a light vertical till, but you can see the Bio 800 breakdown started to really break that material down. And the control, we still had a bunch of trash. It's going to be a tough time getting that seeder to go through in the spring. And so you can see the results there. Here's something that I don't think a lot of people think about, but nutrient value in, this is specifically corn, but any residue is going to have nutrient value. But if you think about corn specifically, 1 ton of residue will come from 40 bushels of corn, if you think about it like that. 30 bushels of wheat, 20 bushels of wheat and 30 bushels of beans out of the same 1 ton. Creates the same 1 ton of stover. So if you look at corn, we got 17 pounds of nitrogen tied up in that stover, 4 pounds of P, 34 pounds of K, and we got some sulfur as well. You know, beans, similar story, wheat, similar story. So this is a lot of NP and K tied up in your stover and your stubble and your trash. How are you going to get that back into the soil? Well, with Holganix Bio 800 breakdown, we're going to help break that down and release those nutrients, and that's money, you know, back into the soil, so you don't have to invest in fertilizer the following year. So when you're looking at this, we're seeing it. You can see it. You can see the visual results of Bio 800 breakdown in the field. Guys, you want to talk to us about what you're seeing here?
Yep. So you can see the fungi that's webbing on those roots there, and you know, making a big difference. And that was put out last fall, and it was really hot and dry. And the product still made a big difference. So it works on what's above the ground and what's below.
Yeah, and you can see this little white cotton candy that's kind of hanging out around the base of this these roots here. That is the fungi in Bio 800 breakdown going to work, colonizing and starting to consume the plant cellulose material. And it consumes it, turns it into humus, which turns into organic matter, and in the process releases all that NP and K we just showed was tied up. So what are we seeing here, guys?
This is the same field. It's just showing I think this was about a month after it had been applied, and you know, the check versus the control. So you can see that the breakdown is moving throughout, you know, getting the center of that corn stalk eaten out pretty good, and that's where all the nutrients are.
Yeah, and you'll see the fungi within the Bio 800 breakdown actually goes into the center of the stalk and starts to consume it from the inside out. And you can break the stalks open and see the fungi be active. You can feel it in your hands. You can feel that it's a different stalk. So, you know, this is going to be something that's noticeable. This is an example of that. Is there anything else to add to that here, Kaleb or Brett?
Stalk on the left was brittle, it would break, and the stalk on the right, you know, it was still pretty tough, you know, so being much harder to plant in, plus you're not getting the nutrients out.
Yeah, and again, it's that degrading fungi that is consuming that plant cellulose and converting it. So with that, we have time for questions if there is any. Do we have any questions in our chat here? Does not look like we do, which is no problem. We appreciate everybody being on this call. We do have one kind of update on Holganix that was not in this slide presentation, but I'll just share it with you all. Again, our goal is to be a partner to our farmers, help them drive soil health and help them drive profitability on their operation. And we do so by helping reduce fertilizer, helping to improve yield, fundamentally improving soil health so that you're passing the farm down in a better situation, better performing from a soil perspective than you inherited it. And we're now getting into the ability to measure carbon in the soil. And when we see that we have the right microbial consortium in the soil, we see a dramatic increase in carbon sequestration in that soil. Now, that's good agronomically, that's good for soil health, but we're also getting into being able to quantify that, measure that, and help farmers get paid for that. So in 2024, we did 75,000 acres as our kind of beta carbon program to prove that we could sequester carbon at a decent rate that would put money back in the farmer's pocket, that we could turn that into carbon credits and actually monetize it. In 2025, we've got 1 million acres that we'll be doing the same carbon program on, and this will be our real official launch. And currently, we're nearly sold out. The Mid-South through Kaleb does have some acres available, but it is on a first-come, first-served basis, and we absolutely will sell out in the next couple of weeks, and we can't take any more. We'll expand that into next year, but for this year, that's how much we can take. Within the carbon program, we do have financing available that gives our farmers 0% financing. They can buy the product for fall and for spring. They get 0% financing until January of 2026. By that point, we will have measured the carbon and been paid on the carbon. And the goal is that we're able to send our operators a check that more than pays for the product. And the whole time they had 0% financing, all while reducing fertilizer, improving yield, improving soil health. So this is incredibly exciting as we continue to try to be a partner to our farmers to help them make more money by improving their efficiency, but also improving their revenue. And this is a whole nother revenue item. So this is new for us. We're excited about it. More to come. If you're genuinely interested this year, I would suggest you reach out to Kaleb and his team, or reach out to Holganix Corporate, and we'll get you in touch with the right people and see if there's an ability. We're not doing it everywhere, and again, it's not something that we can do for lots of acres because we're just about sold out. But it is exciting and it is something worth looking into. And again, it shows that Holganix is different. We're not just selling a microbe. We are a partner for our farmers to drive profitability, to drive soil health, and this is just one more piece of the puzzle. Kaleb or Brett, do you have anything more to say on that, on the carbon program or anything around that?
Most exciting thing in agriculture. So we need something to be excited about.
Yeah, at $3.50, $4 corn, we need to find other ways to make money on the farm, and frankly, this carbon is a big opportunity to help farmers find other opportunities. So we're really excited about it, and we'd love to tell you more about it. That wasn't the purpose of this webinar, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. We're not widely advertising it because, again, we're just about sold out, but it is something that we're really excited about. So with that, I think I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their busy day to learn about Holganix technology and what we can do for your operation, your soil health. And thanks to Kaleb and Brett for taking time out of your day and give us some real experience in the field. We'd love to get on your operation, show you what we can do. If there's an opportunity to do so, please reach out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.